Now, we just got this new photo of Stormy Daniels with her attorney in the witness room yesterday. It was taken before the judge banned photography in the courtroom. Former President Trump braving the gag order against him to lash out about the case earlier this morning.
This is without precedent in American history. Only with the desperation of President Joe Biden and his fanatic left-wing enforcers did it become possible to think about arresting and jailing their major political opponent. This case must be taken out of Judge Merchan's hands because he's totally conflicted.
We begin now with Eric Shawn, who is outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with the latest on Trump's criminal trial. Eric.
Hi, Emily. Well, the defense has been trying to shake Stormy's story in a day in which the testimony veered from NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, to communicating with the dead. Trump lawyer Susan Necheles, she was slamming Stormy's motives during cross-examination and Stormy's memory, challenging details of Stormy's recollection of that meeting with former President Trump at the celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe in 2006. And they're going to his penthouse hotel suite, she said, for dinner and a tryst. Necheles, trying to pick apart her claim, said to Stormy, "You made all this up." Stormy answered, "No, my story has not changed." Stormy, seen here with her attorney in that witness room on Tuesday, admitted the deal with Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen was signed 8 days before the election day in 2016, and she was afraid at that time that she wouldn't get paid because she thought Trump would lose. Then the trial ventured into the paranormal. Stormy admitting she has told people she can speak with the dead, including speaking with her deceased relatives. Necheles raising Stormy's work as a medium to try and portray her to the jury as, well, kind of unreliable and a bit crazy. Well, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has said that politics has nothing to do with this case. Judge Merchan has said there is no conflict, and the New York State Committee on Judicial Ethics has ruled that the judge's daughter's work as a Democratic consultant has no bearing on this case and that he is impartial.
Stormy Daniels in particular, Kaylee, what say you about how she has been utilized or attempted to be leveraged by the prosecution and how that seems to be failing in everything, however, but the humiliation which this trial seems to be rife with?
Well, to be honest, I think people are trying to figure out why she's even there in the first place. Her testimony is completely irrelevant to the charges that have been leveled against Trump, which is fraudulent bookkeeping. And yet her entire testimony was filled with these salacious details about a sex act. It was completely inappropriate to the point where the judge actually had to scold Alvin Bragg's team for putting her on the stand in the first place and having her share those things.
And Cheryl, let's talk about how voters perceive that, because as we listen to this testimony, you know, we are reading right now, she confirmed she entered into the NDA over safety, but calls the money just a bonus, but earlier testified that she indeed had gone into this agreement for the money. There's a lot of miring in details that are salacious, at a minimum, so irrelevant, so prejudicial. We've talked about how jurors cannot wipe it from their ears or memories. And it seems to me that the bigger case that the Democrats are trying to build, that DA Bragg is trying to build here, the more Trump comes out looking so like the victim, because he is, and this is so off topic legally and politically. It's just horrifying.
New York Attorney Alvin Bragg has had 3 weeks, and he has not gotten to the case, to Kaylee's point. I'm ready to talk about the business records. Let's get to the case. What do you have that you were going to say that President Trump did or not do? Get to the point. None of this is the point. And Stormy Daniels' testimony has been salacious and I think a very large distraction and unfortunate. But he has got to prove that the falsification of those business records happened and that there was also, remember, a second crime.
Right.
And that is the election interference. But he's got to get through all of that, and he hasn't even started that yet. And then, of course, there's going to be the inevitable appeal at the end of all of this. And I will say, and I've said this last week on the couch, that financial crimes are already very difficult to prove. In a civil case, this is a criminal case. So I think Bragg has taken on more than he can chew. And I think we're going to, as this case continues, we're going to see that he doesn't have a case. And it's I think the jury is going to have to decide.
I wonder politically what that's going to cost him. And what it's going to cost Letitia James with that case that's now been indefinitely delayed. What it's going to cost Fani Willis if she even gets to stay on the case at this point with an appeal about her disqualification potentially. All those cases have been delayed now while this trial is going on. And Emily, you have taught us this as a legal expert on our couch. as the weakest of all of them. Can we quickly go back to that picture of her in the hallway taking a selfie with the prosecutor? Look, we know what this is about. This is more of a money grab. This is a grift. And it looks like that from her perspective, because she's willing to go into the hallway, as Mark Thiessen and my other guests last hour have said, and just basically put herself out there. And there's so much jovial, oh, it's so much fun, I'm at trial, I'm this, I'm that. This is not selfie-taking time. You're on cross-examination and now redirect for 2 days of testimony, and you're killing the prosecution's case. Not a problem for Trump, but it lets you know who she is.
Right. You say, what will it cost them as a New York taxpayer? Hopefully their jobs.
I want to bring in criminal defense attorney Mark Eiglar. Mark, it's great to talk with you. Can you just walk us through where they go now after that testimony from Stormy Daniels? We're still looking forward to Michael Cohen. Are we going to see more mundane and kind of the numbers and taking us through the case now?
They better not. They better be bringing that evidence that they've been allegedly holding back of some possible audio tapes or emails, in Trump's own words, specifically on the relevant issue, that he wanted to disguise this payoff to Stormy Daniels, and he knew he was committing fraud. Absent that, this trial has become a sham.
So do you think that exists? You said they had better be bringing that they say that they have.
No, I don't think it exists, which is why, again, I'm holding back my disdain for the full prosecution until I hear them rest. But this trial has jumped the shark officially. As troubling as it was to see Fonzie water skiing over sharks, it's equally, if not more troubling, to hear a porn star testify in a fraud trial about the leader of the free world in his boxers on a bed about to commit an extramarital affair. That has no place in a fraud trial. But secondly, I think it's actually going to hurt the prosecution. After you call a porn star whose story jumped around when the defense cross-examined her and exposed her for what she was, you're going to get the same, if not worse, for Cohen, which is why I'm saying if they don't have something in the form of an audio tape or written in Trump's words to help prove fraud, then not only are they going to find a very quick not guilty, but they should be ashamed for bringing the case.
So I want to come to you real quick. We just have a few seconds here. Audio tapes, whether they exist or not, why not start with that?
It's interesting to me that they're sort of setting the scene, it appears, with the most salacious entree. So essentially the jury right now is sitting in an environment of
cesspool.
A cesspool environment of sort of disgust and things they can't get out of their head. And again, the salacious nature. And I think that will help to cover, to obfuscate the, as Mark pointed out, lack of credibility of these guests, of these witnesses. I think at the end of the day, the prosecution has been dancing around. What is the underlying crime? Who is going to prove this fraudulent intent? How are you going to articulate the jury instructions in a specific and substantive way to make sure that it passes muster on inevitable appeal if there is an actual conviction? And what I see right now is essentially them doing a lot of smoke and mirrors to get the jury emotionally into a place where they're just going to go with it. And not only is that not acceptable, but as you point out, the jury's smarter than that. So they can try all they want, but they have utterly failed on the substantive issues. And I have seen no evidence, not even close to evidence thus far, that in any way points to something illegal happening. They have not yet met their burden by a long shot.
Well, and I think that this is an important point because I think it reveals something about the motivations behind the people who are bringing this case, and that, you know, this isn't just happening in a Manhattan courtroom, and the jury is not the only jury that's in that room. Ultimately, they're bringing this case before the American public, to the court of public opinion. Sure. And by bringing all of these salacious details forward that are not relevant to the case, they are trying to change voters' opinions of Donald Trump. They are trying to make him unelectable to the people who would be offended by stuff like this. So it doesn't matter if it's irrelevant to the case legally, it matters politically.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I haven't heard anybody make that point. And it is a big political scene, all of it. We know that. And to see the president come out with
I'm AI Donald Trump, and I approve this message. The fake news. Wake the woke, wake up America. It's not about the left or the right, but what is right and what is wrong. Tune into newswars.ai. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Be sure to get out and vote early.